Hello students and welcome to this session of EdTalks. Now today we touch upon a serious topic which every student is really apprehensive about. You've got an admission to a Canadian university or a college and have already paid your fees. You've crossed all hurdles and now the last step is that of the visa. Now what if your visa is refused? Well, it happens sometimes to the best of people. Nothing to get worried about. We've collected a lot of questions today on our website, that is www.canamgroup.com, related to this subject. And we have with us here Mr. Anuraj Sandhu, who's CEO at Canam, who successfully counseled lakhs of students in these 27 years. He's also a regulated Canadian immigration consultant accredited by CICC, which is a government body regulating the licensed professionals and also protect the public. Hi, Anuraj.
Hi, Ganga.
Okay, so here's your first question. How do I understand the visa officer's psychology while he considered my application and then rejected it? And also, can I re-represent my study visa application immediately after my rejection?
Okay, so we started with a fairly disappointing kind of a question where a person has a visa rejection. But I want to start with something more positive. As I would say that before we get into this issue about a rejection, let's talk about making a first application as a good one. That's extremely important, and that historically I've seen in these so many years and so many years of practice that the approval rates tend to be far better in the first application rather than redoing an application and getting an approval again. So I think it should be taken as a serious step from stage one itself when you're preparing an application. Because the thought process usually is that all you need to do is go through a checklist and compile the documents and present it. And in that process, though you may get it right, that okay, the right set of documents, the application looks nice, but you may not have addressed some serious concerns that a visa officer usually has when he's making an assessment of an application. And that is key. And that kind of a knowledge sometimes doesn't just come through practice alone. You need to understand the law, you need to understand how the system works, and that is where I always tell people that deal with a person, seek guidance from a person who's approved for that purpose. And Canada actually has a policy which says that a person, they have a policy in fact which says that if a person is not licensed according to the system and who's not a regulated consultant, should not be giving this kind of an advice, because very often it can be incorrect. And if it's incorrect, they can have no recourse to any kind of regulation coming into play. So we have a body called CICC, which is a College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants. So they license people like us. And we understand application, which is beyond simply compiling an application and presenting it the right way. So the likelihood of getting a visa is always higher in the step one itself, your first application. Now coming to the question which you brought in about a visa getting rejected. So, there can be various reasons. There are various reasons, and it's difficult for me to analyze and say that why a visa would get rejected. Every case has its own issues, his own peculiar circumstances. So they all need to be understood in a very effective way. There is no one size fits all kind of a situation, and we need to analyze that in full detail to understand why the visa may have got rejected. So complete analysis of what the letter which came through as a rejection letter, we need to analyze what the causes were, what the reasons were, to really understand that. And based on analysis of that, it may be possible, and I very often do advise students based on the information which was in his file. I need to see all the documents, and we need to see all the documents which are presented and what was presented to the visa officer. Based on that, I would always advise students that if there is an opportunity and I feel there's an opportunity to improve, which very often I've seen, many people come with refusals to us and who applied through various on their own or through various other agencies. When we analyze, we feel there is always some shortcomings, and you definitely can go ahead and make another application. But another application doesn't mean compiling the same documents and presenting again. You need to address the issues which were there in the letter of refusal.
So how do you get to know what are the issues that were the reasons for rejection? Like, how would you find out that?
Okay, okay. I don't want to boast about it and say that when I look at an application or when I see a rejection, I actually get to know what may have been the cause, and when I have a general look at the documents presented, and this comes through experience. I mean, not only being licensed, also experience, and now we've been doing it for so many years now. And but I would say that usually when I look at a document and the set of documents, we can gauge as to what the reason could be and how you can present it better. But there is also a formal way. There is a Canada has a fairly strong digital format of maintaining all the files. It's called GCMS. It's a case management system which the Government of Canada maintains, and all your application information, all the documents presented, any notes which a visa officer may have made, and even sometimes if there's rejection, there'll be a reason in more detail, which may not be in your letter, but it'll be on your case file, are available digitally. Only thing is that you can access them not simply by writing to the Government of Canada. You need to get them through a process of access to information and under the Privacy Act. So if you make an application under that, you need to be a person who makes that application has to be either a resident in Canada or someone who is a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. So that's where a person like someone living in India obviously cannot get that, so they can approach people like us who are licensed by the Government of Canada. We are Canadian citizens, so we are able to get that information. Now that has a lot of information, and it needs specialized interpretation. So based on that detailed information, it can, in case I feel I need more information which is not presented in the regular visa rejection letter, so I would seek those notes of a visa officer to see why the rejection happened, and that helps us make a better application.
Yeah, so that helps you strategize the reapplication
Yeah, there is
process,
so much of information on it, but I don't always, that's not really necessary. Frankly, when I look at a set of document presented and a visa rejection, we can catch on as to what went wrong, and if there's a need for reapplication as to what needs to be done.
Yeah, because probably that takes more time, and that
It takes some time. Though the cost is very low. It's a very low cost activity. It doesn't cost much, but it does take time.
Yeah.
It can be a long drawn process, and you don't want to keep waiting for it.
Right.
And if a person is looking to reapply, say for the same intake, it may be too late. By the time the results come. So we need to look into all that aspect too. That how much time has he left for the current intake, or should he be going to the next intake? If it's the next intake, then we need to be looking at a new acceptance letter from a college, and all that stuff comes into play.
So the next question says, I feel that the visa officer made a mistake while assessing my visa application. What can I do now without reapplying?
Okay, so there are two aspects to this thing. One is that you're just not happy with the visa outcome, and you're in disagreement, and you believe that the right thing has not happened, as to you're not too sure why the visa got rejected. One is that, and which is general impression that I wish I'd got a visa and I don't know why it got rejected. Another reason is when you notice that the visa officer may have actually made a mistake, or mistake would be missed out something which is very relevant, and the rejection letter is indicating something which is not true. Some material evidence has been missed out, and which the visa officer did not notice. So in that kind of a situation, there is a recourse where you can ask visa officer to reconsider the application, and for that you don't need to make a visa application, you don't have to pay any fee. You simply use the email format or the web form and write to them with enough evidence to show that there is an error on the part of the assessment. So that is there. But in case it's a simple I'm not happy with the outcome, then that's not the way to go ahead. Then I would rather, on an average, most people are, the visa officer would not have made a mistake. It's the impression that a person is carrying, and in those cases, they usually say it's better to reapply.
So the next question is, now do I need to justify the reasons the visa officer gave for my previous study visa application rejection while reapplying for my
Oh, absolutely.
visa?
Absolutely. That goes without saying, and this is a very major area of concern, because some of these applications which I see which have got a rejection, then we relook at them and we find them that how incorrectly or how frankly they were mishandled. They could have they were not presented the right way, and the visa officer would have noticed that, and their rejection letter would indicate that. But sometimes the answers are very generic, by a visa officer, and I always feel that when a visa officer has pointed something out, it's important to address that issue rather than saying that, well, I've already said it, I've made it all clear, and why didn't you notice it? And you can't just collect all the same documents again and present them and hope for a different answer. So sure, you have to ensure that your next submission to them, along with the documents, in order that present the right documents the way they were in the past. But along with that, try to reach out to answering the questions which are raised or the reasons for rejection, and that could be in the form of your statement of purpose, which explains, but a statement of purpose which specifically addresses the issues which are raised. You need to elaborate a little bit more on them, which you may not have done in the past, because you cannot write a 20-page submission in the first application, right? So sometimes something is missed out, and you get an opportunity in the reapplication. But in a reapplication, definitely you need an absolutely expert hand in an ability, who has an ability through experience and knowledge of how the system works, and to present the application in a way that you're able to address the issues raised with the visa officer. Otherwise, it's going to go to a rejection again.
True. So I think these were the questions that have generally been asked by most of the students. Now, would you like to say something about yourself, Canam, how the system works, and what are the kind of services you provide to the students?
We've been doing it for like 27 years now. Makes me feel like I'm primitive. I came across a very interesting situation the other day. Just about last month, I was sitting in the office and a student comes to me and he says, I wanted to meet you, sir, and blah, 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 all that stuff that we've heard so much about you. And it's like a reference case. Normally referral cases are ki kisi ka student may have gone, a month back or previous intake. And this guy says, my uncle went through you. And then suddenly I realize, oh my God, look at me. I've been into it for so long. So it's we've been in it for years and years now.
Yeah, it's almost 3 decades now, right?
Yeah, it is 3 decades. Yeah, true. And it doesn't seem so long though. But that's how it is. But as an organization, we have grown substantially. Starting from just 2 of us, it is 1,200 of us now. I think by the end of next year, as we plan to add another 19 to 25 more offices across India in a new format. There's going to be a more to handle, reach out to the tier 3 cities. Currently we have around 40 locations in tier 1 and tier 2 locations, but we're going into tier 3 cities to provide those services to students, almost trying to get into the grassroots level. And we will end up with nearly 1,500 to 1,700 staff working at Canam, but the whole foundation is based on the vast experience, having dealt with millions of students getting counseled. And I just hope that I'm able to provide we are able to provide these services to students and carry on providing the services so that students can face that success that they deserve, that opportunity to be a global citizen. That is what Canada offers you, and that's a huge opportunity which is available to us, and we should encash on that opportunity to be a global citizen today. And it's going good. Yeah. So
right. So just one word of caution to the students: just beware of false promises, guarantees, and fraudulent advice, and always seek a licensed immigration consultant for immigration advice and a direct agent representative for all your admissions requirements.
Yeah, and adding to that, it's not just an advice; it's the law. It's the law. Like Canadian system is very clear that anyone who's presenting or representing you for visas and immigration related matters, that person has to be licensed. Whether the person is in Canada or outside of Canada, has to be licensed. And I think anyone who's seeking the dream of being a global citizen, maybe via the Canada way, and they have to realize that you need to follow the law, and the law says a person should seek advice only from a licensed consultant. True. And currently, in terms of our admission processes and guiding people in getting into admissions, the institutions, we have a choice of over 170 institutes right now, probably the largest choice of institutes that any consulting body has in terms of Canada. We provide all the services free of cost. There is no money involved in that at all. Right. And so I always tell people that Do your research. You don't have to just come to me. Go to various other people. Try and judge from their past experience and how they've been handling students. See the feedback on various social media. Find out about the thing. Find out from the colleges.
What kind of services they provide? Do they get universities across for various events? Do they get into their offices?
Exactly.
Do they run webinars? Do they do
Exactly.
pre-departure sessions? Yeah. I think all of that is
that
a very good giveaway.
Like right now, I think we have our ongoing event that is happening, which is the 32nd Canadian Universities and Admissions Workshop, 16 years completed. And we have over 80 universities participating in it, representative from 80 universities and colleges. It's probably the largest bouquet of Canadian universities and colleges on one single platform where we are traveling from various cities across the country. I think students should take full advantage of that.
Okay, so thank you, and thank you so much for this session.
Thank you, Ganga. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.